So what were you saying, Peter?
About your book, your Telling Tales book, your
Well, one of
reflections.
you talked about starting at beginning at the beginning. One of my first professional engagements was giving a class paper in the School of Fine Arts and Music at UEA in the spring of 1973 at the University Village, which was a kind of ramshackle old cabin hut type place before the school moved into the main campus.
This is Norwich, isn't it?
In Norwich, yeah.
What about that? Just what were you saying about?
I was given a class paper on Andy Warhol's films, like Empire. And I was coming off an acid trip. I dropped a tab of acid at Horsham St Ives, outlying for a residence, an old RAF hangar, on the Sunday, and I was still sort of slightly tripping on the Monday morning. And I had this class paper to give. So I gave it, I was spaced out. My eyes were dilated, and I was spaced out, and it kind of went down very well because, I don't know, I suppose I was cool. I think the audience kind of, sensed that I was relaxed.
Yeah.
And I was talking about a subject which fits very well with being spaced out, Empire. Warhol's film about the Empire State Building, through hours of observation, changing sky, changing light, sort of incidental movement like birds or whatever, aeroplanes of course. And the tutor in charge was Jane Beckett, who was a Mondrian expert. She was a world authority on Gestalt movement.
Your favourite artist?
Well, I think he is probably. I mean, Mondrian is just incredible. The neoplasticism. It's so concrete. It's so concrete, and yet it's unlimited. The kind of suggestion of the grids, the lines, are forever. It's like it's almost like infinite continuity beyond the canvas. And then the primary colours as well. These blocks of blue, red, and yellow. That was her area of expertise, but she was also very knowledgeable about everything else, really. I can always remember her constantly referring to Jim Dine, the kind of pop-cum neo-Dada artist, Jim Dine. And pop art as well, because I did seminars which embraced pop, well, obviously pop art because of Warhol. That's why I was talking on Andy Warhol. But it went down really well. I was in no fit state to give a class paper really. But
do you think you were coherent?
Well, it must have been because I think I got a good vibe from it. Somebody said to me afterwards, they were, they said. It was a difficult subject to talk about, and but I just the vibe was that I was cool.
Yeah. Well, you are very cool, Peter.
Well, not always, but that went down well anyway. But yeah, that's one of my earliest kind of engagements, and then of course I went to Venice for a term with the school, which I shouldn't have because I wasn't fully in the fine arts school. I was partly in European studies. Anyway, luckily I got sent out as a token extra for the fine arts.
Extra.
In Venice for 3 months. It's incredible. And I had to give a class paper in St Mark's Square on St Mark's, the architecture of St Mark's, and it was done outside in plein air.
So you gave a talk in St Mark's Square?
Yeah, on the architecture of the St Mark's.
The cathedral.
Cathedral, yeah.
And how did that go?
Yeah, I think it was all right. Just going through the motions, talking about the architect and the various styles that went into it.
Were you tripping during that?
No, I wasn't tripping.
No,
but one of the girls that was on the trip.
The trip.
Well, not that sort of trip. She bought a whole bunch of cannabis, so I was smoking dope in the hotel with her.
Yeah.
I remember that. It was just, you know, it's kind
Cop
of...
off with her?
Eh?
Did you cop off with her?
No.
How disappointing.
Would you? You would have done that, wouldn't you?
Well, I don't know. It didn't come up really. It was just... you were just...
Manana.
We were just getting stoned, you know, just...
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
So you gave a talk?
Yeah. In St Mark's Square. I also had to give a talk on Mantegna's Agony in the Garden, that foreshortened figure of Christ by one of the Venetian Renaissance masters, Andrea Mantegna. I remember giving a class paper to the group there, but that was indoors. You know, that was in the probably the hotel I think we were staying in. We stayed in this kind of out of season hotel on the Grand Canal. I mean, God, what a term away! That's really incredible, you know.
We all envied you going to Venice.
Well, I was lucky, you know.
Do you know I was there at the same time?
You're joking?
No, it really was. I was on a school cruise, age 11.
11?
Yeah.
You might have bumped into Peter.
I know.
Aged 11.
I know. It's a terrifying thought.
Everything has its time. Everything has its time.
You waited, Peter. It was meant to be. It was like death in Venice.
Yeah. Yeah, so that was one of the earliest episodes in Telling Tales, and then I got lucky.
You're gonna write about that in your book, Telling Tales.
Absolutely, I want to. Absolutely, no question about it.
Yeah.
Is it going to be full of scandal?
Well, a little bit, but you know.
What do you mean a little bit?
Not
we
too.
want lots of fucking scandal.
Yeah.
Lots and lots, please.
It could be arranged.
You're going to tell the truth on all these artists.
What
You
about?
must know some real secrets.
Well, here's
about
some scandal. How about the fact that I illegally crossed the US border like a draft dodger from Canada into the United States? The other way around, because normally it was just Americans going into Canada to avoid the draft. But I was going the other way, because I had an American girlfriend, Lisa, who lived with me at UAM last year. And she went back home. I wanted to go with her. And I couldn't get a visa because I'd been going there too often. I had a cannabis conviction even at that stage.
What do you mean you had a cannabis conviction?
Which I did, yeah. I got busted.
What, in America?
No, no. And they wouldn't give me a visa anyway. I'd been going too often. And so I thought, well, fuck this, I'm going, you know. So I crossed the border illegally at night.
Yeah.
It was all snowed up, very cold winter, 76. And I crossed the border illegally. I nearly got caught. Police car came down the track. It was right to get down in the snow, you know, face down.
You must be frozen.
Well,
How long were you there in the snow? Face down?
No, I was in America, in the United States.
No. How long were you face down in the snow?
Well, I don't know, a couple of minutes until they...
Oh, right. Not like half an hour. So
No, but they didn't see me. I thought they would.
I'm amazed they didn't see your footprints.
Well, exactly, but they didn't. They just drove on, you know, whatever. And then I carried on.
Probably weren't a priority for them.
Well, probably. I mean, I wouldn't be able to do it now, but I got away with it. I was in the States for 4 months.
Right.
And then I kind of crossed back again 4 months later.
So you have to be just as sneaky going back?
No, I met a sort of Red Indian locksmith. I mean, you couldn't make this up. He was a locksmith. He had a business selling, you know, locks and keys and things. He was Red Indian. I don't know what tribe, but he was Red Indian. Really nice guy. And he said, I know how you can get across back into Canada. And he drove me to the border. And it was just a couple of ditches with a small country lane in the middle.
Yeah.
And he said,
In the middle of nowhere?
well, it wasn't in the middle. It was south of Vancouver. So I crossed from Washington State into British Columbia. And I just got a bus into Vancouver and hey presto, I was back home in inverted commas again. Home and dry, you know. So, and then I flew back to London from Toronto.
Which year was this, Peter?
76, early 77.
Right.
I mean, it's hell of a... and then I got a train for 45 quid. 45...
You paid?
Yeah, I paid on the Trans-Rocky, Vancouver to Toronto. That's 3,000 miles, for Christ's sake. I slept on... I didn't have a couchette because I did it cheap. And I slept on the normal seats, you know, for 3 or 4 days. Right across the Rockies, straight to Vancouver. You know, now it's about $2,000. It's about $2,500 to do it now. So I mean, I travelled when you could still do it.
Well, you do like to travel free, and you've got a history of not paying on trains, haven't you?
Well, that is not to be broadcast.
I'll cut that bit out.
I don't believe you.
Anyway, it's all going to be in Telling Tales.
It is.
The memoirs of Peter Davies,
Yeah.
eminent art critic, bête noire
Yeah.
of the art world.
Yeah.
Who would you say is the most exciting person to meet?
Well, it's not bloody Andrew Lambeth opposite him. But,
No.
well, I suppose,
Patrick Heron?
no, I didn't like him. I didn't
Why
like.
not?
I didn't like him. I thought he was arrogant. I thought he was up himself. You know, I thought he was precious. You know, I didn't like him. I didn't like him at
Didn't
all.
he throw you out of the tape?
No, he didn't throw me out of the tape. Well, no, not as such. But he
Barred you.
well, he didn't bar me, but he talked against me to the Tate.
Can't imagine why. What
Well,
made him decide to do that?
I went up to him at the Tate opening in '93 and said, "Patrick, you're a good painter, but not a great one."
Fair comment.
Which he didn't actually like. He
It's
took
fair
umbrage.
enough, but what on earth made you decide to say that?
Yeah,
to
but
him?
I won out in the end because the word got out through the dealer Bernard Jacobson, who was friendly with Hilton Kramer, art critic of the New York Times, one of the greatest American art critics of a generation. And this is big news here. He wrote the foreword to my book, St Ives Revisited.
Great book.
Is that on the back of you being rude?
Yeah, to Heron, because Hilton Kramer had fallen out with Heron on Heron's attack on the New York school. Because Heron wrote these preposterous, and that's what Hilton Kramer called it, by the way, to me. He said it's preposterous. Heron's 3-day diatribe about St Ives being more important and more original than New York.
Yeah.
Which it wasn't.
Yes,
I mean, I'm St Ives School's biggest fan, but to say that they're more important than Pollock and de Kooning and Rothko and
it's just not true.
It's just not true. So he wrote the foreword to my St Ives book to get back at Heron because he knew through Bernard Jacobson that I'd been rude to Heron. So I won out in the end. So I mean, who lost out? All right, I lost out at the Tate, but does that matter?
What did you gain from that, though?
Well, Hilton Kramer writing the foreword to my St Ives Revisited. It was big news, this.
Also, Frisian of being a bit edgy.
Yeah.
That being rude to somebody so important is quite exciting.
I mean, you've always been like the coolest art critic out there.
Well, I don't know, hopefully, but I just go on my instinct and how I feel, and I didn't like Heron. I thought he was just lauding it. You know, they all, sucked up to him.
And what did he say about you? He went to a friend and said something really quite cutting.
He was with Michael Snow, who rented Ben Nicholson's house for 20 years after Nicholson left St Ives. Michael Snow, he's passed away now, but he was the tenant for Ben's house. And Heron pointed me out to Michael Snow and said, "You see that man over there? He's just been rude to me."
I thought he called you an odious man or something like that.
No, he to my face he said, "You're an arrogant little man." Sorry, no, an aggressive little man. Sorry.
That's true. It's very true.
Well, which is true, but but I don't mind that. But what I do mind a bit more is that he effectively finished me at a Tate because Mike Tooby, the yes man, first director of St Ives, they're all yes men, but he was the first of them. He wouldn't talk to me in the street after.
So was it worth it?
Of course it was. I've told you that.
Yeah.
Because
No,
I got Hilton Kramer. I mean, #1 New York Times art critic, for Christ's sake, And you wrote the
Are you
foreword to my
still
book.
suffering from with your reputation with the Tate? That's
of
still
course I am.
problematical?
They won't touch me. I mean, I don't care. I actually don't care.
But there's a few people that don't talk to you in the street in St Ives, isn't there?
Like who?
Paul Vibert.
Yeah, but that was my own fault. I mean, I sort of got.
What? You spat at him?
Yeah, I did.
Spat in his face, didn't you?
Yeah. I mean, I shouldn't have done
That's
that.
filthy.
And then Terry Frost's son Anthony, didn't he punch you in the Belgrave Gallery?
No, that was Anthony Frost.
Anthony, yeah.
Well, that again was my fault because
Yeah.
I was unnecessarily provocative to him.
I thought you get on quite well with him.
Well, I do now.
Yeah.
We've made up. But it's ancient history. But at the time, it was my fault because I was unnecessarily provocative. I mean, Anthony was very presumptuous, and he had this entitlement attitude. It was an insecurity thing, being the son of a famous father, Terry.
You were very good friends with Terry, weren't you, at one stage?
Yeah, I was at one stage. Yeah, I was. I was very good friends. He was a very generous sort of, working class, token working class, self-made man, really. And the person who knew Terry better than anybody from the early days was Uncle Feather.
Yeah.
He
was a great character.
Wonderful man.
Yeah.
Absolutely wonderful. He left me $7,000.
Did he?
Yeah.
That's very kind of him.
He left me $7,000. He was really,
Where's that gone then?
Eh?
Where's that $7,000 gone?
Well, one has to live, but I've still got a couple of good paintings by him here.
I like that one we've got on the stairs. It's beautiful.
Yankel was lovely. He we went to see him, didn't we?
We did in Brighton, yeah.
With his he was of course very gay, Yankel.
Yeah.
Scouse gay.
Yeah.
With his chauffeur Terry, didn't he? Terry was a chauffeur.
Yeah. Well, he had a story. He ran a club in Liverpool called Streets. And I met Cilla Black through Yankel.
Did you?
Yeah, I met Cilla Black because she came to Yankel's opening at his gallery in South in
You
Campbell.
met Cilla Black?
Yeah, I met Cilla Black, yeah.
Talk about that. Come on.
Well,
Spill things.
our Cilla, she came to Yankel's opening, which I was at, and Yankel gave her a painting of Cilla performing on stage.
Yeah.
And I started talking to her, and about her art collection, and
She got an art collection.
well, it was more Bobby, her husband.
Yeah.
They had some really good Larrys.
Did they?
Yeah, some very good.
Larry, who's just been outed as a bondage fetishist.
So what,
Yeah, exactly. It's not a big deal, is it? A bit of bondage,
Family friend.
We all
of
do it.
his.
We all do it, don't we?
A woman I was talking to not so long ago. I'm afraid I can't actually remember who she was, but her family were friends with Larry, and he was just well known. All of the young women avoided him because he was just so beyond
Pervy.
creepy.
Really.
Beyond creepy, yeah.
Well, he had a close friend who was a beauty. What's her name? The Cumbrian artist, Sheila Fell.
Sheila Fell.
She looked like Cleopatra. Her eyes and the makeup on eyelashes. she's an
Is she
absolute.
the portrait with the Sandra Parte?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He painted her, didn't he?
He did
In the
paint her.
nude.
Well, did he? I don't know.
When she was quite young.
I think so.
Yeah. A great painter. I mean, Sheila Fell, wonderful.
Well, she was a good painter.
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah.
Wonderful painter, Sheila Fell. Fantastic. I remember Carol Waite painted my portrait. Yeah, Carol Waite painted my portrait.
We were at
Is that
Christie's.
the one on the staircase there?
We were at Christie's when your painting came up for sale.
Yeah, I know.
With Jeffrey Archer.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. I interviewed him actually.
What, Jeffrey Archer?
Yeah, in the penthouse. He had a really good art collection, and when he got into trouble over the perjury thing, not one newspaper, not even the Tory press, actually gave him credit for the fact that he was a really, it's a cultured thing to do, to be an art collector. I don't care how much money you've got. The fact you're doing it is a cultural sort of contribution, and not one newspaper among the Philistine newspapers, left or right or central, whatever, not one paper gave him credit the fact that he was a major art collector, which he was.
He had Monets, didn't he?
He had Monets, he had a room full of Davies.
Davies?
Davies, Gouache of the Thames.
Bloody hell.
Yeah, that's not the Carol Waite.
Is this a portrait of you?
Yeah, this is
Nice. I like it.
Jeez, you were handsome, Peter.
Still on.
You are. Look at that, I've got Peter
So who
with
did
it.
this?
How old were you?
What then? Oh God.
You look about 40.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, around that. Maybe slightly younger.
Who did it?
Barbara Davies. No relation.
It's nice.
She was a scout.
You all related, you Welsh.
She was a scouser.
Through the sheep.
She was a student of Arthur Ballard's at Liverpool.
So Carol Waite painted you.
Yeah. And then he. Why am I saying this? And then he talked about some of his students that he had, and why have I mentioned Carol Waite? There's some stream of consciousness I was talking about. There was some artist he was talking about. I can't remember now what the context for Carol.
Don't worry about it. Anyway, your book, Telling Tales, is going to be scandalous.
Yeah,
And you're going to, no holds barred.
yeah,
You've met a lot of people, haven't you?
yeah,
You've met a lot of people that other people would just love to meet.
yeah.
Yeah, and Liz Frank.
Yeah, well, I had supper with her, yeah.
You know Hepworth's daughters.
Yeah, but I
You know
didn't...
Sylvette.
Well, yeah,
You knew Terry Frost.
yeah.
You know Anthony Caro.
Well, I had a quite a big relationship with Anthony Caro. I mean, he gave me
What do you mean you had a big relationship?
I don't think he means sexually.
I mean, he gave me a sculpture.
Did he?
Yeah,
It didn't stay long in his possession though.
that I didn't keep.
Flogged it, did you?
I didn't keep for
It was
long
poor.
enough. And it's now, I've seen it recently in an art fair. It's at 85,000.
And how much did you sell it for? Tenner?
4 or 5.
What?
Grand.
Pound?
Grand. I should have kept it. I mean,
But you needed it.
I needed money at the time. But the thing is, Tony, I mean, he was very supportive. He supported so many people, Tony Caro. He was. They don't make people like that anymore. He made it big. You know, he had his lucky breaks in New York. And Green Book supported him in America, so he became a kind of add-on to
That's massive.
to David Smith. You know, steel sculpture, post Gonzalez and Picasso. You know,
Is it not post minimalism?
well, yeah, to some extent, but a little bit, yeah. But I mean, Caro supported everybody. I mean, incredible man. Pure, you know, a little bit paternalistic. He could be a little bit suffocating at times, but he cared, and he supported me. He supported me when other people weren't, and he gave me this sculpture. I put him in a couple of shows in Bournemouth and Poole. You know, but that's not enough to get given the sculpture. You know, and he just supported me. He's a wonderful man, and you know, we had a great time with his son, didn't we, in the studio?
Oh, that was a lovely show.
Yeah.
That was really nice.
Got a Christmas
Really
card.
beautiful pieces.
You
Yeah,
got a Christmas card?
yeah, from Anthony Caro's son.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's his name? Paul Caro, isn't it? Paul Caro. He's in charge of the estate.
It's a very nice place actually. And there's a huge piece. What's that huge piece outside that looks a bit like
Oh
an
God,
engine?
I can't remember what it's called
Huge.
now.
No, I've got no
Can't remember
idea.
what it's called. But anyway, I should have sold that sculpture. 85 grand in auction. God almighty.
He taught at Central, didn't he?
No, he talked at St Martin's. Well, almost. I mean, it merged with St Martin's. I mean,
Yeah, I applied that, yeah.
it was called St Martin's when he taught there.
Yeah.
And then it got merged with Central St Martin's, Charing Cross Road.
They closed the sculpture school. It wasn't of a high enough standard. They closed it for a year.
Oh, did they? Okay.
Yeah, the degree.
Okay.
Can't wait to read your book, Peter.
Yeah, well, no, it will be good. Bob. I mean,
Thanks for remembering my name.
the other, well, it's very difficult to
It's only
remember.
known you 52 years.
If you did write a very good book on me, probably your best book.
I mean, it's very difficult to remember all these names. I have to dig down for them.
Dig deep.
But the other early thing which had an impression on me was when I knocked on, you know, as a kind of cheeky white boy, I had nothing to lose. I knocked on Patrick Heron's door. Patrick Caulfield's door in Swiss Cottage, and he invited me in, not knowing who the hell I was.
Probably fancied you.
I don't know what it was, but he invited me. He wasn't gay. Patrick wasn't gay. Patrick Caulfield now, a pop artist, and I stayed. He invited me to stay for supper. And
Who was there?
Howard Hodgkin came.
Wow.
Howard Hodgkin. Well, he was gay, wasn't he?
He turned gay. He wasn't gay then. That evening.
You turned to gay.
That evening he turned gay when he met you.
No, that evening he was with his then wife.
Mrs. Caulfield.
Mrs. Hodgkin.
Yes.
Yeah, I can't remember her name now. I think it might have. Her surname was Lucas. I think I can't remember her first name. Anyway, she was there with him. He wasn't gay then. He did turn gay. I mean, I actually saw him I saw him cottaging.
You saw him cottage.
Well, I went to have a.
You happened to be in the cottage at the same time.
No, I happened to have a piss. Is that allowed? I happened to have a urination at the back of the National Gallery.
Not in the toilet.
In the toilets.
Oh, in an actual toilet.
No, at the National Gallery.
Outside the toilet.
No, in the toilet. I had a pee in the toilet.
You've actually pissed in the official toilet.
That's
Yeah. And
that's
Howard
quite
Hodgkin.
unusual.
Is that what turned him gay?
And Howard Hodgkin was going in and out. I mean, I kind of discreetly watched him.
What do you mean? You discreetly watched him.
Well, what I mean is, he was coming in and out of the loo, right? So I sort of stood there and sort of just discreetly kind of observed, you know, and...
Why did you do that?
Because he was cottaging. He was going in and out of the loo.
Was it exciting watching it?
No, I'm not gay, you know, I'm not interested, you know, but I'm just telling you that he wasn't gay when he was there, you know, but he turned gay later on.
What do you think turned him gay? Was it the Indian boys?
I don't know, you'll have to ask him. Well, you can't, he's dead now, but I got no idea. I found him slightly haughty and rather privileged and a little bit kind of, he was all right. I mean, we spoke a little bit. And
Yeah.
I was a sort of mutual guest to Patrick Caulfield. Patrick Caulfield was great. I was really fond of Patrick Caulfield. He was such a character. He liked kind of, you know, sort of different people, you know.
Well, you're different, Peter.
Yeah, exactly. He was interested in people, Patrick. And the poor man killed himself with alcohol.
Did he?
He became a drinker of shorts.
Shorts.
The heavy stuff.
Yeah.
And he literally destroyed himself. You know, it's a pity because he was a great character, a wonderful painter. I love his
Did he
work.
carry on painting during his
Oh,
alcoholism?
okay, yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's a great. I love his work.
Yes, I do.
You know, it's a mixture between Roy Lichtenstein's and anglicised Roy Lichtenstein, but he also had a take on cubism. You know, Juan Gris, and he made a plus, you know, a bit of photorealism, a bit of.
His colour was lovely.
Oh, wonderful artist, fantastic, Patrick, wonderful man, a great guy.
So, of all the artists that you met, who was your favourite, just on a personal level?
Oh, God, difficult to say. I mean, I think Carl Rowe, I think Dennis Bowen. You know, they were people that got behind me and supported me. You know, I mean, they really did. When I hadn't yet established the sort of track record I have now.
You got very lucky early on, didn't you, with
Yeah.
that exhibition with the Hepworth?
Oh God, at the Russell Coast in Bournemouth. That was my first ever project.
How did you get that exhibition?
Through luck.
Charm, Peter.
Beginning.
Charm and good looks.
Well, maybe. I'd say it was good luck. I mean, you know, I just fell on my feet, and you know, Alan Bowness, for some unknown reason, supported us. He said,
Not
well,
many graduates had been given that chance.
No, exactly. I mean, you know.
What was it?
He led to,
How did you get it?
well, I don't know. I asked Alan Bowness. I mean, I got 5 or 6 Hepworth lengths. Was
I know, it's astonishing.
incredible. You know,
Big ones.
they're big enough. Yeah. I mean, one of them's in the Kiel collection now.
Yeah.
You know.
So, among all the people you met, who were the ones that you disliked the most?
Patrick Heron. Well, I have to think about it. There'll be some, but yeah, certainly Patrick Heron. I didn't like him.
Didn't like him. Bit of a ponce, wasn't he?
Well, I think so. Yeah.
He did you that marvellous favour of getting a friend to write a really scathing review.
Oh, that
of
was.
your...
Yeah, but again, I mean, I won out there.
I know.
Because they demolished me. I mean, it was an absolute assassination. That's what.
I felt so sorry for you when I read it.
I mean, Maurice Cockrell, he called it an assassination in Modern Painters. But hey, I got 2 whole pages in Modern Painters magazine.
It's brilliant.
And would you'd rather look? The time to start worrying is when they ignore you.
Yeah.
If you get a review and you get hit for 6, that's good publicity because they're not ignoring you. The time to worry is when you get ignored.
Exactly.
But boy, did they hit me! God, they really had a go at me.
But you came back stronger, didn't you?
Yeah, of course I did.
And you know you're writing your book, Telling Tales.
Yeah. Yeah.
Boy, is that going to be a great read.
Yeah, I think it will. It's going to take a while to write it though, Bob, because there's an awful lot there. You know, I'm just touching the surface now.
Yeah.
You know, there's a hell of a lot. I mean, and also about what artists thought about other artists.
Exactly.
What
That's
they said
really
about other
exciting
artists.
stuff.
I mean, Dennis was a mine of information, to not just to me, to you too. But, you know, he just knew so many people. And he had a good retentive memory. I mean, he just tell it all, didn't he, really?
Yeah. Brilliant. Well, okay.
Yeah.
It's been a great evening, Peter.
Thank you very
Easter
much.
Sunday.
Thank you very much.
Be lucky.
Yeah, okay. But I tell you what, I had my shadow light when I started out. I tell you, oh my God, that big Russell coach show. I mean, I had no track record at all. You know, get loaned 5 or 6 miles per hour. I mean, they didn't know who the fuck I was, you know.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, they do now.
Yeah.